Hi, my name is Crystal Duchesneau. The novel that I chose is called "Let the Children March." This story is written by Monica Clark Robertson, and the illustrator is Frank Morrison. This story has about 40 pages in it. It was awarded the Coretta Scott King Award. The appropriate ages for this novel would be between the ages of 6 and 9, and this is a picture storybook. Let the Children March is a story that takes place in Birmingham, Alabama in 1963 during the Civil Rights Movement. The story is told in a first person point of view by a little girl who tells of her experiences while making a change against segregation. And I just wanted to share with you guys some of the illustrations just of what are in the novel here. Within this novel, you'll be able to feel just the emotions that are being felt. And there's a section I wanted to read. It says, 1963, Birmingham, Alabama. I couldn't play on the same playground as the white kids. I couldn't go to their schools. I couldn't drink from their water fountains. There were so many things I couldn't do. That just gives you the tone of how this story goes. So what this story is, like I said, it's told in a first person point of view of a little girl. During this time, Dr. King had asked for his fellow Americans to walk with him and create a voice for the African Americans and to stand up against segregation. The families were concerned about standing up and speaking their voice because they had jobs and they had families that they had to take care of. And so the children spoke up and they said, well, we have nothing to lose. We don't have money to lose. We don't have jobs. So we're going to stand up and we're going to march. And these little kids, they planted a new seed of revolution for the African American community. Dr. King allowed the kids to speak up, and they all created an army of peace. And along their journey, thousands of kids joined this march, and they sang, "The path may be long and troubled, but I'm going to walk on." And here is just a preview of what's going on here. These kids were confronted with police officers that tried to scare them away along their journey with water, with the police dogs, with batons, and regardless of their efforts to attempt to stop the march, they did not succeed. The children kept walking on. Some of them were taken to jail. And here we have a photo of some of the kids being taken to jail. Regardless of their efforts, the African Americans still joined together, and on May 10th, Dr. King reached an agreement of desegregation, and months later, following this, the African Americans were able to visit places that they hadn't before. They were able to do things that they weren't able to do before. This novel is beautifully created. Each page is just filled with beautiful colors, and at the back of the book they actually have pictures here that took place. So that is the novel that I chose, and my personal response for this novel is I felt like this was very powerful and empowering piece, and I feel like it's important to share our history with our children. And it's also important to encourage our students to be brave and to stand up for what is right. This story actually brings me back to a movie that I used to watch as a child called Hairspray, as I'm sure many of you know. This movie was released in 1988. In this movie, there was this fun-loving white girl named Tracy Turnblad who speaks up for the African Americans. She actually becomes a role model to the young girls in her community. I remember watching this movie and not understanding what segregation was, and I didn't understand why so many people frowned upon Tracy because of her love for the African Americans. But despite the hate that Tracy received, she stood up for what was right, and she stood up for the African Americans, and she stood true to herself, and she loved herself. And I think that's even a great movie for children to watch as well. Not to go along with the crowd, but to stand up for the right thing and to keep pushing forward. For the activity, I came across an activity that I was inspired through weareteachers.com, and it's called Rearrange the Classroom. What students do are they create like interview questions, and they pair up with another classmate that they don't technically hang out with, and the two will exchange, information, and later on they will share with the class what they've learned about each other, and possibly they will find out in the end that they're more alike than they believed that they would be. So that concludes my presentation.